Listen in to Hope FM's RPH radio reading program featuring articles from the Esperance Tide Thursdays at 10am, except for the first Thursday of the month, when you can hear our RPH radio reading program Lifestyle, Money, Food and Other Things. That's 10am Thursdays on 103.9. Proudly supported by the Community Broadcasting Foundation.
Esperance Tide, latest edition, September 2021, page 2, read by Janelle. Congratulations, you made it through winter. Though with those fabulously warm and sunny weekends we experienced throughout August, was it really all that bad? This warm weather has local botany experts and enthusiasts forecasting a bumper wildflower season. We couldn't be more excited and have already been out and about with our heads down and cameras at the ready. There are literally thousands of different species of wildflower in our region, and we mightn't get to see every single one this year or ever, but there's no harm in trying, right? This edition is bursting with botanical beauty as we pass on our top tips for experiencing wildflower season in Esperance, page 4. We are particularly looking forward to perusing the display of specimens at the Esperance Wildflower Festival, with a scone in hand, of course. We're also pretty keen to get back out to Cascade Falls, and you will be too after reading our guide to the falls on page 6. Not only is the area dusted with tiny wildflowers, but the road leading out to the falls is lined with canola in full bloom too. Oh, and the falls themselves are, well, falling. After all that running around, where better to refuel than at the new Coffee Cat and Sir Juice kiosks at the Jetty headland. These pod-style kiosks have been a long time coming, but boy oh boy, has it been worth the wait. Custom designed and built, the kiosks have allowed the two businesses to grow, both physically and metaphorically. While we miss the iconic red and green vans that have formed part of the Jetty view for many, many years, we're super excited at the prospect of new and exciting things happening on the foreshore. We love to see progress in Esperance, and the Coffee Cat and Sir Juice kiosks are just one example of some great stuff happening in town. Check out the story on page 10. As always, there is so much more within our pages, from a recipe to get you in the mood for spring, page 29, to a culture pops that will leave you questioning how you possibly have time to fit a day job in between your social engagements, page 16. Happy September, go wild, Esperance Tide. That was page 2 of the latest Esperance Tide for September 2021, and it was read by Janelle.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
Hi, Bid here, and I'm reading from the September 2021 edition of Esperance Tide, pages 4 and 5. Choose your own adventure, the Tide's top tips for wildflower season. The wildflowers of the southwest of Australia, and in particular Esperance, are some of the most spectacular natural flower displays in the world. As we approach spring, our backyard comes alive with thousands of varieties of wildflowers. There's so much to see and do this wildflower season. Here are just a few of our suggestions. Find the connection between plants and culture. For more than 30 years, the Esperance Wildflower Festival has been showcasing the abundance of native flora that pops up in the region every spring. With 2,500 different species growing around Esperance, our wildflowers are as varied as they are vibrant. But did you know they're incredibly useful too? The theme of this year's festival is Plants and Culture, Kataji Noongar Budja, and aims to highlight the importance of native flora to local Indigenous people. If they can't be eaten, most plants have a use in another form, says Janelle Reynolds of Esperance Dadiarak Native Title Aboriginal Corporation. We're bringing a different perspective to the festival this year, she says, more of a cultural perspective, by providing information about which plants Indigenous cultures are connected to. The theme is integrated throughout the festival program, which includes guest presentations, workshops, and multiple arts components. The partnership with WRAC has come out of years of working closely together and responding to increasing interest in the community, says Jane Mulcock, Executive Officer of Esperance Community Arts, a key coordinator of the Esperance Wildflower Festival. There are constant requests for opportunities to learn about plants and culture. Ken Mills, President of the Esperance Wildflower Society, is expecting a bumper wildflower season. He's forecasting that up to 600 species will make it to this year's display of specimens. It should be just about the perfect season, Ken says. The combination of good rain and warm weather is expected to really bring things on. It should be a pretty good show, he says. The Esperance Wildflower Festival runs from 21 to 25 September. And for further information, visit www.esperancewildflowerfestival.com. Go beyond the Shire boundary is the next headline. Get out of town for a day or two and head to Ravensthorpe for the largest wildflower show in the world. Now in its 39th year, the Ravensthorpe Wildflower Show and accompanying Spring Festival is an annual celebration of the abundance of native flora in the region, which is home to 20% of Western Australia's floral species. Roughly 3,000 species are filed in the town's herbarium, an estimated 700 of which will be on display in the Ravensthorpe Town Hall for the show. In addition to that display, a host of workshops, activities and events will be on offer from the 13th to the 25th of September, from art and photography exhibitions to nature walks, wildflower hotspot bus tours, and two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive tag-along tours. The ever-popular horticulturalist and ABC presenter Sabrina Hahn will be making an appearance at the festival, as will celebrity butcher Vince Caraffa, who'll be hosting Hunt and Gather, which is a family-friendly picnic in the park, complete with live music, entertainment by Zap Circus, and a mini butchering demo. The Ravensthorpe Wildflower Show and Spring Festival is a community effort, with some 200 volunteers lending a hand. It's grown immensely over the years and continues to evolve every year. Outgrowing its original venue at the town's Senior Citizens Centre, the show and festival now span across multiple venues in both Ravensthorpe and Hopetown. For further information and a full program of events, head to wildflowersravensthorpe.org.au. Take a tour is the next headline. If you're keen to head off in search of wildflowers but have no idea what you're looking for, take a tour with local botany enthusiast Elodie Goldsmith. Born and raised in France, Elodie became so enamoured with the wide open spaces and natural beauty of Western Australia while on holiday that she decided to stay. The founder and photographer behind Picturesque by Elodie, which runs out of Creators and Makers in Museum Village, Elodie now shares her passion for the region with others through her art and her tours. Running up to 3 times a week throughout September, Elodie's tours cater for all ages and fitness levels, with a tag-along car tour through Helms Arboretum, an easy walk in the Pink Lake area, and a slightly more challenging hike around Dempster Head. Elodie says participants don't need to know anything about wildflowers to enjoy her tours. They simply need an open and curious mind. Just a caution, it is an addictive hobby, warns Elodie, who began to explore the wonderful world of wildflowers 3 years ago. I love walking through the bush to hunt for them, she says. It's like Christmas every time I see one. A mum herself, Elodie's tours are family-friendly to ensure the passion is passed on to the next generation. To find out more about Elodie's tours and to book, visit picturesquebyelodie.com.au or drop into Creators and Makers in Museum Village. Taste the botanical beauty is the next headline. Esperance Distillery Co. focus on producing unique gins using botanicals found within our region. So not only can you see the beauty of our native flora this spring, but you can taste it too. The small batch distillery, a father and son team, carefully select key local botanicals found between Fitzgerald National Park to the west, Israelite Bay to the east, and Cascade to the north, giving their gins a distinctly Esperance flavour. With no guidebook to aromatic botanicals in the region, David and James have had to do some trailblazing. Traditional owners have provided suggestions, as have local native botanical experts and enthusiasts. The distillery's popular Cut and Run, a traditional London dry gin, was designed around the vanilla acacia, which has passion fruit notes. Their hotly anticipated pink gin, due for release very soon, uses Esperance wax, which James also recommends trying as a springtime G&T garnish. There's huge floral biodiversity in the region, James says. We recently discovered a local botanical which tastes a bit like bubble gum, he says. We're having fun experimenting with different species. James says using local natives brings a sense of adventure and uniqueness to what he and his dad are creating. It's fun to get out and explore and learn about the country, he says. This wildflower season, James suggests pairing an Esperance Distillery Co. gin with an Australian mixer, available exclusively through their cellar door from this month, and enjoying it with good company in the great outdoors. Treat yourself to retail therapy is the next headline. In celebration of the region's most vibrant time of year, Tide & Co. will release an exclusive range of wildflower season merch this month. After the success of last year's design, graphic artist Jack Mears has immortalised 8 different natives for the 2021 season, including the red swamp banksia, red kangaroo paw, and cocky's tongue. Jack's work is available on a tea towel as well as a t-shirt and crew neck, the perfect piece of clothing to wear while wildflower spotting, by the way. Tide & Co. will also have a range of native seeds for sale throughout September, like the Banksia speciosa, Eucalyptus pluricarpa, Hakea lorina, and Eucalyptus tetraterra, so you can grow your favourite native species in your very own garden. Wildflower spotting is the next headline. The Esperance region is home to so many varieties of native plants that chances are you've spotted some already on the side of the road or on your daily walk. If you feel like making a trip out of it, we suggest heading out to Cape Le Grand National Park, where there are plenty of walk trails to choose from. We recently took the track from Hellfire Bay to Little Hellfire, about a 50-minute walk, and took some snaps of the wildflowers starting to bloom. Head to page 22 for a complete photo gallery. And for more information on different places to go, head to www.esperancetide.com.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
Hi, Bid here, and I'm reading from the Esperance Tide September 2021 edition. It's a Tide Guide, a springtime day trip to Cascade Falls. Words and photography by Rosie Henderson, and it's on pages 6, 7, 8 and 9. When it's not bright and sunny, Esperance can feel a little miserable. Sometimes we don't know what to do with ourselves when the sun isn't shining and the water isn't sparkling. We find ourselves counting down until the sun returns and the easterlies are inbound. But if we look away from the coastline, there are some beaut local adventures that aren't reliant on calm seas and clear skies. Cascade Falls is one of them. It's the ideal spring day trip because the more rain we've had, the more the falls are flowing. Our own falls in Esperance. Cue that so overdone Chasing Waterfalls song. And no, I'm not going to sing that, for which you can be eternally grateful. The drive. After the recent rain, we decided to jump in the car and take a gamble on the possibility of the forecast sunshine sneaking out from behind the clouds. Always a gamble, really a disappointment. Worst case, you get soaked to the skin or a little windblown. Even then, it's usually worth it. Cascade Falls is along Loop Road, about 70 kilometres west of Esperance. Heading out of town along the highway, the sun starts shining and the morning coffee kicks in. There are a couple of routes you can take, either turning down Cascade Road onto Loop Road or off the highway into Cummelbidgep Road, then down Loop Road. As the tar turns into gravel, we drive past paddocks of flowering canola and watch out the windows in awe of the bush that is our backyard. As we approach a dip on Loop Road, we see water flowing over the road and spot a little track that leads into the bush. We hobble over a few rocks and potholes in the road as the sunlight falls through the mallee trees. This track takes you down along the edge of the falls, where there are two main spots you can stop and park alongside the falls. If you're lucky enough to catch the falls after a bit of rain, you'll find the water cascading over a labyrinth of granite rocks. It's a playground for kids and adults alike, complete with walking tracks, rock jumping opportunities, and lots of perfect picnic spots. You can walk along little tracks that run alongside the river for a fair way down, where you'll see the river eventually beginning to narrow again. If you're up for crossing over the rocks, you can walk a loop, down one side, over the river, and up the other. With a bumper wildflower season on our doorstep, this spot was already coming to life with lots of our local blooms, a wildflower spotter's dream. At many spots along the river, there are moss-covered rocks that offer the perfect perch for a picnic with a view. Or if you're up for some rock hopping, there's a beautiful grassy area on the other side of the river. Roll out the picnic rug, sling open the tucker box, crack a coldie or brew a billy, and spend a few hours basking in the sunshine to a background soundtrack of near silence aside from the running river and singing birds. So, the adventure essentials. We'd recommend picking up a roadie from downtown or Cloud 11 to enjoy on the drive out. And if you're planning a weekend adventure, pop past Bread Local on Friday Arvo for some baked goods to pack in the picnic basket. Fill the thermos, throw in the billy, or chuck a couple of coldies on ice in the esky. We'd recommend wearing enclosed shoes though, and taking a picnic rug, a good book, or a deck of cards perhaps. There are no facilities at Cascade Falls, so come prepared with the essentials. Water and toilet paper, TP, loo tickets, dunny roll, whatever you wish to call it. Leave nothing but footprints and take nothing but memories. Beware of bees, by the way, often located in the nooks and crannies of the rocks around the falls. If you do encounter any, stay dead still and they'll generally get bored and meander away. And as always, take it easy and be safe out on those gravel roads.
Esperance Tide, latest edition, September 21. The article is a funky facelift for local faves, a new home for Coffee Cat and Sir Juice, words by Carly Florison, photography by Lucy Vincent, and it's on page 10 and 11, and it's read by Janelle. With an impressive 31 years of operation between them, Coffee Cat and Sir Juice are Esperance icons. Both locals and visitors alike regularly take advantage of the opportunity to enjoy a coffee, juice or smoothie while catching up with friends, enjoying the ocean view, watching their kids play in the park or walking along the Esperance Jetty. Now the two businesses have undergone their biggest change yet, relocating from their original vans to brand new custom-built kiosks. Grant and Nicola of Coffee Cat and Claire and Mario of Sir Juice, formerly known as Sir Juice, along with their dedicated staff, have been churning out a steady stream of delicious beverages and great customer service for years, all while negotiating the cramped space of their two small vans. After putting their heads together, the two couples decided to approach the Shire of Esperance with the concept of installing new pod kiosks at the Jetty headland. The pods were custom designed and built, taking into consideration the many complex requirements of the businesses and the location. While the buildings are identical on the outside, inside each pod is individually designed to best suit the needs of the business. Designed to be sturdy for the exposed waterfront location, as well as blend in with the surroundings, the two kiosks complement the beautiful Jetty headland. The inspiration for the pods has come from numerous prefabricated kiosks around Australia, including Pretzel in Northbridge and Lost Freight in Mount Wellington. Designed to be transportable, the pods are owned by the respective businesses, with the Shire providing a 10-year lease on the sites. If needed, the pods can be removed on short notice. For Claire and Mario, the new kiosk presented the opportunity for a new name, and the couple rebranded their business as Sir Juice. While they enjoyed the humour and play on words of seduce, pronounced seduce, the new kiosk has given the couple a chance to feel as though they are starting their business again, a change that felt worthy of a new name. Sir Juice feels like the cool older cousin of Seduce, still under the same experienced and passionate ownership. The couple has plans to expand the Seduce menu too, in keeping with the new expanded workspace. They have already added to their panini menu, and when soup season is over, plan to add additional food options such as sandwiches and wraps to their repertoire. They have already added new juices and smoothies to the menu. While Claire and Mario are excited to see their original idea come to fruition, they are quick to point out that they could not have done it alone. The move has been a joint collaboration between the two businesses, benefiting both Coffee Cat and Sir Juice. Claire and I would still be dreaming about having a shop if it wasn't for Grant and Nick, Mario says. They really made it happen. Both couples love being a part of the family of businesses at the Jetty headland, along with a relatively new kid on the block, Spudlicious. Like Seduce, Coffee Cat also plans to expand their menu with new hot food options like pies, sausage rolls, and vegetarian pasties. Both businesses are excited that the new workspaces are making things easier for their staff, and of course they're very happy not to have to manoeuvre the vans into place every morning. Grant and Nicola admit feeling somewhat nostalgic about moving out of the van, which served Coffee Cat since its beginnings in 2004. They are still deciding what to do with the faithful old van. As for the Sir Juice van, Claire and Mario don't feel all that sad to say goodbye to the space where they've worked for many years. They plan to sell the van, hoping that it will stay in town and provide a space for another local business to be established and to thrive. Both businesses are excited about the upcoming tourist season in Esperance. Over the last few years, each summer has been bigger than ever for tourism in the town, and now with the new kiosks in place, both teams are raring to go. They are looking forward to seeing familiar faces as well as meeting new visitors to town. Plans for an official opening for the new kiosks are also in the works, after both businesses have completely settled into their new homes. With the Esperance Jetty providing the perfect spot to stroll or fish, there has never been a better time to visit the friendly faces at Sir Juice and Coffee Cat. Check out the new pods and enjoy their delicious food and beverage offerings. Make a pit stop. Coffee Cat is open from 6:45 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. Sir Juice is open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday and 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday. Spudlicious is open from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Thursday to Saturday. The article that I've just read is entitled Funky Facelift for Local Faves, a New Home for Coffee Cat and Sir Juice. Words by Carly Flores and photography by Lucy Vincent on page 10 and 11 of the latest Esperance Tide edition, September 2021, and read by Janelle.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
Esperance Tide, September 2021. The title of the article is On the Road with R.M. Williams. Words by Hannah Seamer, photography by Lucy Vincent. It's on page 12 to 14 and read by Janelle. It's very Australian. I'm told of the landscape as we'd bounce along the gravel on a back road north of Myrup. I can't think of a worthy response, but somehow managed to acknowledge the statement without too much of an eye roll. I suppose to 3 European expats, each now residing in either Sydney or Melbourne. A dirt road wedged between paddocks for as far as the eye can see is very Australian. It's late May and the land around us is still dusty and brown. Any sign of life yet to emerge from the soil. My passengers, 2 Brits and a German, who have collectively lived down under for less than a decade, are quizzing me about when the crops will begin to show and what colour they'll be when they do. When I reply green, I'm probed further. Yes, but what shade of green? My familiarity with the Pantone colour chart is about as slim as my knowledge of agriculture, and the question has me stumped. I shrug and continue driving until I'm asked to stop the car so they can take photos of a road sign, a mundane but welcome interlude. I find the irony of 3 Europeans having creative control over R.M. Williams's latest marketing campaign somewhat amusing, but they're taking their recce to Esperance very seriously, so I do too. Esperance is being considered as a location to shoot the iconic Australian brand's next campaign, and I've been asked to assist the creative team in finding the right backdrops. I'm acutely aware that I've chosen to wear a pair of very obviously non-R.M. Williams boots on this particular day. However, I remind myself that the trio will probably spend more time looking at the scenery through the frame of their index fingers and thumbs than at my feet. In town for less than 24 hours and admitting they were experiencing the unenviable combination of hangover and jet lag, we begin the recce where all good flying visits to Esperance should cloud 11. Over toasted sandwiches and coffee they tell me what they're looking for in Esperance. Some things are a cinch, like a sandy track leading to a beach and a lookout over town. However, other requests require a little more thought and are strangely specific. I leave them to caffeinate while I do a quick ring around, trying to source an abandoned shearing shed, old fuel bowsers, and heaven forbid, a black 1980s BMW with roof racks. Over the last few years, Esperance has been selected as the backdrop for the marketing campaigns of several big brands. In 2018, swimwear giant Sea Folly shot a campaign featuring German supermodel Toni Garron at Blue Haven, Wiley Bay and Lucky Bay, while Kevin Murphy headed out to the Wiley Bay sand dunes and Twilight Cove to promote its hair care. Just last summer, Rip Curl chose Wharton Beach to set the scene for its recently released Women's Summer 2021-22 campaign. R.M. Williams is now on that list too, with the brand's On the Road campaign shot in Esperance in early June and released last month. While it has its share of generic countryside shots, complete with climbing on hay bales and running through open paddocks, it also makes use of some pretty iconic Esperance scenery, including the Esperance Jetty, Great Ocean Drive and Dempster Head. According to the brand, the seasonal shoot captures a nostalgic journey from country to coast and pays tribute to the natural beauty of unique Australian landscapes and lifestyles, capturing the optimistic mood of a spirited escape and memories of summer adventures. Almost 30 creatives descended upon Esperance for the R.M. Williams shoot, including 6 models. But as has been the case with all aforementioned campaign shoots, countless locals were involved too. Someone to assist the out-of-towners with location scouting, and general logistics was just the tip of the iceberg, with several local farmers allowing access to their properties, and Paddy Ratcliffe from the Esperance Veteran Car Club lending his 1967 Holden and 1979 Mercedes to the 3-day shoot. Sadly, a black 1980s BMW with roof racks could not be sourced locally. Paddy himself was even thrown in front of the camera, but while he didn't make the final cut, his cars certainly did. If you come across the campaign, keep an eye out for the E and KBC number plates. Taylor Street Quarters provided 3 meals a day to the R.M. Williams team, and multiple accommodation providers ensured they had somewhere to sleep. Not an easy feat given it was their WA Day long weekend. It's very Australian, I mutter to myself when I see On the Road for the first time. The final product of the campaign, a series of photographs by Sydney-based fashion photographer Jake Terry, and a 90-second film, is as much an advertisement for Esperance as it is for R.M. Williams. Showcasing more than just our beaches, it captures the essence of Esperance, that we are as country as we are coastal. As it has been before, there's a small thrill in seeing your hometown provide the backdrop to a campaign of this scale. We might be isolated, some might even argue we're a little backward, but we're also sought by some of the biggest brands in the country, and that's not something many regional towns in Australia can boast. For more info, check out R.M. Williams's On the Road campaign at www.rmwilliams.com.au. The article that I've just read was On the Road with R.M. Williams, words by Hannah Seamer, photography by Lucy Vincent, page 12 to 14 of the September 2021 edition of Esperance Tide, and it was read by Janelle.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
Esperance Tide, latest edition, September 2021. Shipwrecks of the Esperance Coast, words by Carly Florison, photography by Lucy Vincent, page 24 to 25, and read by Janelle. The Esperance coastline is a treacherous place, with temperamental weather, lots of hidden reefs and rocks, and frequent high winds and swells. It's not surprising that Esperance's history contains the stories of many shipwrecks. These are some of the stories of the earliest shipwrecks that took place along our coastline. In 1870, during the early years of settlement in the Esperance area, Campbell Taylor settled at Thomas River, east of Esperance. Taylor got to know some of the local Indigenous people who told him the story of a ship that was wrecked many years prior at Victoria Harbour, near the Duke of Orleans Bay. They showed Taylor an engraving on a rock at Victoria Harbour, supposedly made by the crew of the ship that was wrecked. The engraving was a date 1600. Taylor later told the story to Captain Fred Douglas, an early Esperance local, and showed him the engraving on the rock. Douglas told the story to a historian who published the story in a newspaper article in the 1930s. There is very little supporting evidence for the story of the shipwreck, and if a ship was wrecked off our coast in 1600, it would predate the first European to visit Western Australia's shores, Dirk Hartog, in 1616. It is possible, though, that the Dutch ship Postillon, which was lost with all hands in the Pacific Ocean in 1599, could be the mysterious wreck. The first recorded ship to be wrecked off Esperance's coastline was the Belinda, a 160-ton British brig. The Belinda had narrowly escaped sinking on her journey to Hobart in 1823, losing both masts, the boats on her deck, and 3 crew members in a storm. After repairs, the Belinda set sail in 1824 for the sealing grounds in the Recherche Archipelago. The ship made it to Middle Island, where she was wrecked, although the crew all escaped with their lives. They also managed to save the Belinda's 2 small boats and some provisions. As there were no European settlements in Western Australia at the time, the crew decided to travel east in the 2 boats along the shoreline. They made it 200 miles east, but then one of the two small boats was swamped and lost. With no provisions left, the crew decided to return to Middle Island, with some of them travelling in the boat and some walking along the shore. Luckily for them, they were rescued by a passing brig, the Nereus, which was hunting seals in the area. The Nereus took the crew back to Hobart, and a year later, other sailors salvaged some of the wreck of the Belinda, including her two anchors. The next ship to be wrecked in the area was the Mountaineer, made famous by the story of Black Jack Anderson. The Mountaineer, a 23-ton cutter, had come from Kangaroo Island in 1835, leaving Anderson and some of his sealing crew on Middle Island before travelling on to Albany. On the return journey, the Mountaineer sheltered from a storm in Thistle Cove, but was pushed onto shore and wrecked. The 3 crew and 6 passengers on board all survived, and they managed to salvage the ship's whaleboat, along with some supplies and some brandy, which was important for Captain Evanson Jansen, a notorious drunk. The survivors stayed on shore for several days, and during that time they met some of the local Indigenous people. They then took the small whaleboat out to Middle Island, where they knew that Anderson was living with his crew. After 3 weeks on Middle Island, Jansen, along with some of the crew, set out for Albany in the whaleboat. They were never heard from again and were presumed wrecked along the way. Another one of the survivors, a woman called Dorothea Newell, began a relationship with Anderson. After another couple of months on the island, Anderson had a disagreement with one of the shipwreck survivors, Dorothea's brother James Newell, and one of his own crew, James Manning. Manning accused Anderson of stealing from him, and Anderson put the 2 young men onto the mainland without any supplies. Manning and Newell walked around the coast to Albany, a distance of more than 600 kilometres, only surviving because of the help of some Indigenous people. Anderson was acquitted of stealing the money, thanks in part to Dorothea Newell's testimony on his behalf, but was later killed by his own crew. When the work started on the telegraph line east from Albany to Eucla, ships were used to transport the telegraph poles and other equipment. At the time, there were no jetties available to unload the ships, so they had to get as close to shore as possible, often in rough seas and unprotected bays, and then float the jarrah poles to shore. This was a dangerous process. While unloading the poles at Point Culver, one of the crew members was trapped under the floating poles and drowned. One of these ships, schooner Marianne, was wrecked while sheltering from a storm at Bellinger Island off the coast of Israelite Bay in 1876. She was pushed ashore by a strong wind and heavy swell and wrecked on Bellinger Island, although all the crew was able to get to safety. They were saved by another ship that was in the area, the Tribune. 2 more ships, the Twilight and the Bunyip, both cutters loaded with poles, telegraph cable, insulators and workmen's tools, were wrecked on the same day, in May 1877, at the eastern end of Culver Cliffs. The crew survived and walked the 275 kilometres to Israelite Bay, where there was a settlement. These are only the earliest recorded shipwrecks in the Esperance area. Of course, there have been many more since, but that's a story for another day. The article that I've just read is from the latest edition of the Esperance Tide, September 2021. It was on page 24 and 25. It was part of 5 Minute History, and it was entitled Shipwrecks of the Esperance Coast. Words were by Carly Florison, photography Lucy Vincent, and it was read by Janelle.
If you've just tuned in to 103.9 Hope FM, you're listening to our RPH Radio Reading Hour.
Hi, Bid here, and I'm going to be reading from the Esperance Tide September 2021 edition. Page 26, it's almost always my favourite segment, Hidden Heroes. And this month, it's Sally Elliott. Sally Elliott has always loved growing things. After growing up in Esperance, she spent some time living in Perth and Margaret River, always gardening whenever she could. In Margaret River, Sally became involved in the Food is Free movement, which encourages people to share their homegrown produce, reduce food waste, and build a sense of community. When she moved back to Esperance, she saw an opportunity to put her green thumb to work, growing not only vegetables, but also the community around her. She set up a small free pantry at the front of her Emily Street house and began to stock it with the excess veggies from her own garden. Before long, the community became involved. Sally says that people often drop off veggies or fruit from their own garden, and the pantry is also popular with people who take advantage of the freshly grown produce. Along with the freshly grown vegetables, people sometimes donate pantry items, hygiene products, or even spare cups and mugs. Sally noticed that the pantry was particularly busy when WA was locked down at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, with community members filling the whole cupboard with food and positive messages, and plenty of food being taken. Sally has also set up a drop-off point for food scraps through the Share Waste app. This innovative app allows people with the space to compost to receive people's food scraps. For people who don't have the space to compost, they can drop off their food waste rather than adding it to the landfill. Sally notes that the food scrap drop-off point is popular with people at the nearby caravan park who might be looking for a way to compost their food scraps. Along with the free pantry and her own garden, Sally is also involved with the Cannery Arts Centre's Forage Kitchen Garden. Sally says that when she was studying at uni, she'd come back to Esperance on her holidays and would always check out what was going on in the community garden. When she moved back to Esperance, she realised that the garden was going through a quiet period. She offered to help out and is now one of the regulars who helps to maintain the Forage Cannery Kitchen Garden. The volunteers at the garden meet fortnightly, helping to maintain the garden and grow produce for the community. Sally notes that the garden is very informal, with people choosing what they want to be involved in and sometimes just taking the opportunity to sit in the sunshine and have a chat. While she's kept busy with her job as an English teacher, Sally loves the opportunities that she has to be engaged with the wider community. Sally finds Esperance a great place to get involved, with plenty of opportunities to do something for the good of the community. She loves being back in her hometown, noting that while she's lived in other beautiful places, they didn't quite have the magic that Esperance has. Nominated for her work with the Forage Community Garden and the Little Community Pantry, Sally Elliott is this month's Hidden Hero. Want to get involved? You can follow the Food is Free Esperance or the Forage Cannery Kitchen Garden on Facebook, or download the Share Waste app for more information. And do you know a hidden hero? The Esperance community is filled with people who do amazing things. It's time to honour our hidden heroes, those people serving behind the scenes, selfless and generous with their time and talents. To nominate someone you know, please email jennifer.oborn@esperance.wa.gov.au, and you'll find that email address and the Hidden Heroes article on page 26 of this month's Esperance Tide.
Welcome to the reading of the Shy Fly newsletter for Friday the 25th of September 2020. This newsletter is provided to you by the Shire of Esperance. All information is correct at time of recording, so grab your cup of tea and have a listen to the Shy Flyer. New Esperance Jetty update. Unfortunately, due to the recent bout of poor weather, progress on the new jetty was slowed due to high winds, preventing the crane and barge from being operated safely. While construction above the water has been hindered, the growth of new aquatic life on the jetty piles underneath can already be seen. Pictured is a pile that was driven less than a month ago. The new jetty will no doubt become a hive of underwater activity, as the old jetty was. Showcase in Pixels artwork displayed. The annual Showcase in Pixels competition ran a little differently this year after WA Local Governments Association's, WOWGA, annual competition was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Usually, winning artworks are displayed on the iconic digital tower at Yagarn Square in the heart of Perth. The Shire took up the reins this year and proceeded with the contest anyway. From the 30th of September until the 5th of October, you can check out all the local entries at the Post Office Square in town or visit esperance.wa.gov.au/showcase-pixels-design-competition to view all the artwork online. Magpie season. Beware. Magpies are usually bred between August and October every year, and it's during this time that their protective swooping behaviour is in full force. Despite what you may hear from others, magpies are not seasonal, bloodthirsty flying monsters. They are simply using their body language to warn you to keep away from their eggs or chicks. The good news is that a single magpie will swoop for only about 6 weeks until their chicks are fledged and leave the nest, so magpie breeding season is usually all over by November. The male birds defend their nests from the time the eggs are laid until the young birds are fledged, and they will attack anything they consider to be a threat, such as dogs and humans. So, if you're outside enjoying the warmer weather, on your bike or walking your dog, what can you do to make it through magpie breeding season unscathed by a swoop? The best way to avoid being swooped is to change your route. Magpies only swoop within 50 metres of their nest, so stay away from known magpie nesting areas. The birds usually go back to the same spot every year, so if there was a swooping danger zone on your route last year, it is likely to be there again this year. But if that's not possible, here are some tactics to avoid being swooped. Travel in groups, as swooping birds usually only target individuals. Carry an open umbrella above your head. Wear sunglasses and a broad-brimmed hat. If you ride a bike, walk it through magpie territory or have a flag on the back of the bike that is higher than your head. Do not act aggressively. If you wave your arms about or shout, the magpie will see you as a threat to the nest, and not just this year, but for up to 5 years to come. Walk, don't run, and avoid making eye contact with the birds. Protect yourself from mozzies. The WA Department of Health has put out a Ross River virus warning for the southwest region. Symptoms of RRV can last for weeks to months and include painful or swollen joints, sore muscles, skin rash, fever, fatigue, and headaches. The only way to diagnose the disease is by visiting your doctor and having a specific blood test. There is currently no vaccine or specific treatment for RRV. Therefore, the only way to prevent infection is to avoid being bitten by mosquitoes. For more information on how you can protect yourself and your family this season, visit healthywa.wa.gov.au/healthy-living/prevent-mosquito-bites. From the September Ordinary Council meeting. The Esperance Shire Council met for their monthly Ordinary Council meeting earlier this week on Tuesday the 22nd of September in Cascade, with Council resolving the following. To commit to progressing the implementation of a food organics and garden organics, in brackets FOGO, recovery and composting program. To undertake a fabric waste recycle trial for 6 months. Endorse the Pink Lake Road Shared Path Corridor concept design. Agree to adopt the live streaming and recording of meetings policy, to approve the helicopter tourism business Heli Spirits operating tours from the James Street groin, remove the urban node in front of the French hot bread shop. Tanker Chronicles book launched. The Shire of Esperance proudly hosted the Tanker Chronicles book launch earlier this week, with contributors, councillors and others involved in the project in attendance. Running from November 2019 through to March 2020, the Tanker Chronicles project focused on gathering and recording the community's memories with the historical Esperance Tanker Jetty, centering on stories that paid tribute to a sense of community, pride and engagement. Collaborating with local creative agency Wayward Nation, these public submissions were archived and then collated into the Tanker Chronicles book. Contributions from the local and broader community were collected in the form of written stories, poems, artworks, historical drawings, photographs, and videos. Around 40 people participated in the project, and in recognition of their efforts, they each received a copy of the book. If you're keen to get your hands on your very own copy, you can do so by purchasing through local bookstore, the Book Box, or you can access it electronically at esperance.wa.gov.au/tanker-chronicles. Kids Sport Program. With summer sports starting up in the coming weeks, it is an opportune time to sign up for the Kids Sport Program. Kids Sport enables eligible West Australian children aged 5 to 18 years to participate in community sport by offering financial assistance of up to $150 per calendar year towards club fees. More information is available here: dlgsport.wa.gov.au/funding/sport-and-recreation-funding/kids sport. Museum reopened. The Esperance Museum has reopened after their winter break. Be sure to go down and check out all the amazing exhibits. The opening hours are 1:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m, Thursday to Sunday. Entry fees are as followed: adult $8.50, child $3.50, concession $6.50,